Lexus will give you its large unibody crossover in a few different powertrains, either gasoline only, gasoline hybrid, or this top tier plug-in hybrid 550h gasoline electric combo. But if you're going to use this vehicle for longer highway trips, what sort of fuel economy can you expect once that battery runs out? Well, tonight we find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from DM Moto, and today we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2026 Lexus TX 550h Plus. In this test, we're going to test two different aspects. We are going to test the highway cruising range of electric-only driving using the battery, and then we're also going to test the highway fuel economy of the gasoline engine when cruising without any electric assist. So in order to test that out, I'm going to charge the battery all the way up. We're going to head out on the highway and deplete that battery, heading out and then back about halfway or so to negate elevation or wind factors there. And then we're going to fill it all the way up, go out and do 100 miles, come back, fill it all the way up again at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method to see what sort of fuel economy we get. But before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Yes, the top of the line TX 550h Plus. This one giving us a painted grille along with 3 rows of seating, 6 seats total with the captain's chairs in the second row, giving us that roughly 18 kilowatt hour battery inside there, the ability to charge it up and do what the EPA suspects will be about 33 miles of mixed driving on electricity alone. Now I suspect that's going to be a little bit lower at highway speeds, just dealing with a little bit of extra wind resistance of this larger vehicle. And we also have roof rails for some reason on this tester. I don't know why Lexus thought that a press vehicle needed to have crossbars on the top. All that's going to do is add noise and wind resistance, but nonetheless, they are there, so that's what we got. But if you do want to see more on the TX, check the link below. We've got our full pros and cons review, as well as a dedicated review of the Mark Levinson audio system. Also, we covered the 500h normal hybrid a few years ago for a 2024 model year, so we've got our coverage of that one on DM Moto as well. Also, quick shout out to the video sponsor, LazFit. We've got LazFit mats all throughout the cabin here on this TX, and despite it not being particularly snowy or slushy here in Southern California, their floor liners are still a great way to keep your vehicle clean throughout life. You can see we do have a good amount of debris in here because I've been putting Eve's stroller in the back while we had family in the car. And you can see how nicely designed these are, that it's got this sort of accordion setup where as you slowly fold these seats back up, then that covers in there and these come back very nicely. And then you've got the nice measuring and cut all the way around, giving you kind of that tray layout. And you see that in all 3 rows of the TX as well. Kind of sitting nicely in there, keeping any snow, slush, dirt, mud, whatever you got covered off of your carpets. They're also very easy to pull back out, and kind of got this bendy but firm TPU material, very easy to clean. And you see the same in the front, covering this nice sill bit, so if you're getting your feet, you got somebody who drags their feet a little bit coming in and out, that's going to stay clean. Goes nicely under the seats as well. So if you got a TX or any other sort of vehicle, LazFit probably makes a set of mats for you. Use the link below, get 18% off, help support the channel. Big shout out to LazFit. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this version of the TX 28 miles per gallon at highway speeds, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. And we know there are plenty of people who do big miles and travel faster than that, and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. And the other thing is there are many different ways to use a plug-in hybrid vehicle. Some people are going to try to strategize and say, okay, I'm going to drive on electricity at slower speeds like this, and then I'm going to put it into EV hold mode and just drive it as a normal hybrid at highway speeds. That's certainly an option. However, most people, I think especially in this class, are simply going to plug it in, charge it all the way up, and then go do their daily driving until it's depleted. I think of my wife as an example. She has an EV right now, but she drives about 13 miles into work and then 13 miles back, and most of it's highway. So she would just simply be using this as an EV to get to work and back. So I'm curious, how is that battery going to last for her if she just hops on the highway and does highway speeds? So we're going to do this test at night when there's less traffic. And a few other things to note: tire pressures have been set to their door placard 38 psi cold. Temperature tonight will be about high to mid 60s throughout the test. And we're going to have the climate control running at 73 degrees auto. So with that, let's head to the test. We are all charged up. We got 39 miles of estimated range on the battery meter there. Got the windows open right now, just cooling off the car a little bit so the AC doesn't have to work as hard as we get rolling. So let's get this all, oh, that's the shade. Let's get this all closed up here. And you can't move the shade and that at the same time. No multitasking in the TX. Let's reset our GPS. Oh, and the dreaded Lexus gauge cluster here. So we're going to go display over. You got to make sure you do this while you're stopped because you can't change the display when your cruise control's set. We want something that shows us trip total average. Yeah, let's reset that. All right, do this. Ooh, exit meter. How do we reset? Do that. There's no OK button like there is in the Toyotas. Hold. Total average. Is that like total lifetime average? Can I reset the trip average? Or do I just do that by resetting the trip here? Let's see, trip A, reset that. Yeah, I know you're not ready to drive. Calm down. Oh boy. Okay, hold to customize. Oh, seriously though, how do I reset this? It does not tell me how to reset, and I'm not a car illiterate sort of person here. Meter display saved. That's frustrating. Hold to customize. In the Toyotas, you'd go to the screen and then you'd hold down the OK button. Do I hold on this? This one? No. Maybe it'll reset once I start driving, but it says 72 hours of drive time, so that clearly hasn't been reset in a really long time. Mode. Customization. Yeah, I am 100% at a loss. Very, very frustrating. So I guess we'll just have the trip average over there for fuel economy. We got our trip reset, GPS reset, climate on, 73, auto. Let's roll. Now we do have a few different drive modes here in the TX. We've got normal, sport, and eco. So we're going to do this test in eco. And we'll take it nice and easy over to the highway. It's about 0.7 miles away. Now, obviously there's no perfect way to do this sort of test for a plug-in hybrid because everybody's going to use their plug-in hybrids a little bit differently. The reason I do this test this way with the plug-in hybrids is a few different reasons. First of all, it's the easiest to standardize. I can go out and just run it all the way down at the same speed that we run the gas cars and the full EVs and just see how well it does on electricity alone. And then come back and then do just gasoline alone. The other reason I like doing it that way is because if it's a little bit of a worst case scenario so that you know, okay, if I were using this car daily and charging all the way up daily, then I would know how far I could go cruising on the highway, or even better around the city, but at least cruising on the highway at 70 on electricity alone. Also, I should point out, I just noticed that we dropped down to 36 miles when I turned the climate control on. So we'll be able to see how far you can go on electricity alone, and then you'll be able to see what sort of efficiency you can expect on gasoline alone. And that's useful to me because if you were taking the TX here on a road trip, you would essentially only get the benefit of the plug-in hybrid for those first 36 miles or so. And after that, you're running as a normal gasoline hybrid. So the plug-in hybrid part is irrelevant. Doing the test this way allows me to give you the most useful data possible for you to decide how this car would assist and work into your lifestyle, into your driving habits and uses. And then it also allows me to compare against other cars, like we did the BMW X5, what is that now, the 50e plug-in, the same way, where we've got, we can compare just the electric part, and then we can compare the gas part. So the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy out of this car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, I'm going to get up to highway speed here, as long as traffic allows us. And And then I'm going to set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 71 miles per hour. That should allow us to average about, well, it won't be quite a 70 mile per hour average for this electric part, but for the gas part later, it should be. It looks like we're about 1 mile per hour below the GPS according to the dash, and in classic Toyota Lexus fashion, our cruise control is going to sit about one low also. So we're going to have to set at 73 for the cruise control to get 72 on the dash to get 71 on the GPS. Initial highway impressions? Not too surprising. It's decently quiet in here. Now, we do have those roof rails, so we are getting a slight bit more wind noise up there with those. It's kind of silly to me that those would be included on a plug-in hybrid press car here, but alas, they are on there. Maybe not the quietest car for $85,000 over these concrete sections of highway, but it's really not bad. Seat comfort should be good. I've actually already done about 160 miles in this car. So a lot of that on this exact same route that we're doing again tonight. So it's a pretty comfortable place to be. However, no thigh extension on the seat. A little bit of a bummer there. So I'm going to continue on with the test and turn around once we're at about halfway through our charge, and then come on back and we'll recap the electric portion. Down to 1 mile left on our electric range meter after 28 miles at highway speed here, including one turnaround and the 0.7 miles to get on the highway. So, looks like we should be kicking into our gasoline engine any moment here. Interestingly, the odometer and trip meter here is already significantly below the GPS. That's why it's important to use the GPS to calculate these sort of things. We're at 0 now. There we are, right there. That was 28.6, even though the car only said 28. So we are about 0.6, 0.7 miles below, or above rather, on the GPS. So 28 miles, 29 I guess technically if you round up, but at strictly highway speeds here, about 28. Not fantastic. Oh, we just lost it too. I'll have to check back at the footage. We had the electric efficiency read out there on the gauge, and now it's gone. That trip average is gone now. Shoot. I think it was getting about 1.9 or 2 or so miles per kilowatt hour, which is just about the same, actually a little bit below what we got in the very, very large Cadillac IQL. Cadillac Escalade IQL. So that giant 9,000 pound 7-passenger vehicle, more energy efficient on the highway than this Lexus TX. So that kind of just goes to show you that plug-in hybrids really are not the best of both worlds. They are just simply both worlds. But either way, we need to get this back to the gas pump now and fill it all the way up with gasoline and head out and do our 100 miles of gasoline testing. All right, we are fueled up, put in just over 4 gallons. We got the trip reset, the GPS reset, climate's still going, still in eco mode, so let's fire it up and head right back on out. I also wanted to point out that we turned around right about halfway for the electric portion. So theoretically, we negated any differences in wind and elevation. It was only about a mile or 2 out from our gas station here that we kicked on to gasoline. Also, I spent a few extra minutes trying to figure out how to reset this drive info screen. I even consulted Google Gemini, tried to get AI involved. They weren't helpful. Google insisted that there was an OK button in the center of the steering wheel, exactly like the Toyota systems. But I made it very clear that it was not, and it was still confused. So, yeah, I'm going to have to ask a Toyota dealer or a Lexus dealer or something like that just how to reset that screen. Very frustrating. Coming into the end of the gasoline portion of the fuel economy test here on the TX 550H Plus. Unfortunately, our route did get cut short. I was coming into San Diego County there, near Carlsbad, I guess it'd be Oceanside technically, and noticed that the northbound traffic was very, very backed up. So I got off as quickly as possible, and man, I don't like it when systems slow down in corners. Speed. Anyway, got off as quickly as possible, turned around, got back. We did have to sit in traffic for probably at least 5 to 10 minutes or so. Fuel economy did tick up a little bit there, running on a lot of electricity, so we will probably give a slight bump down, at least a round down to whatever we calculate here at the pump, and our total distance will be a little bit shorter. Our average speed is probably very low at this, 64 miles per hour, so a little bit of a bummer there. I have kept the speed kind of between 71 and 72 to compensate for that a little bit, compensate also for the driving slowly with the hybrid aspect here, but other than that, fairly smooth test, a little bit of extra traffic being a Thursday. I don't like recording these on Thursdays, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do for the YouTubes. No tachometer here to see, and I don't feel like screwing around with gauge cluster or drive modes or anything like that to see if I can find one, so sorry, right lane hog. But seat of the pants comfort index, moderate. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm not shuffling around here or anything. We do have a decently, moderately long seat bottom here. Seems to be decently supportive. Adam Brody, if you happen to watch this, seats get a pass from me. Although at $85,000, shouldn't they be massaging? I don't know. I never really use massaging seats. I think they're a bit of a gimmick, but I know some people appreciate them. According to the vehicle's trip radar, we're looking at 25.5 miles per gallon, which puts us a little bit lower than the TX 500H that we tested a few years ago. Not too surprising there. Again, like I said, it's not the best of both worlds, it's just both worlds. So we'll see what our final calculation is, because the vehicle's trip meter is just vastly low. 87.4 compared to 89.4. So after 100 miles, you're over 2 miles low on your readout here, which is good for your warranty, I suppose, but yeah, a little bit concerning. Anything else? Sound system? Pretty good. However, we did notice a disappointing failure when you listen to loud music for more than about 20 seconds. The system, especially the door woofers, seem to go into a protection mode, and sound quality changes pretty dramatically. So take a look at our sound test if you want to see the details of that. But I'm going to get this back to the pump. We're going to crunch our final numbers and get to bed. All fueled back up at the end of the night here. We put in 3.502 gallons of premium gasoline here into the tank of the TX. And we traveled 91.7 miles tonight. 91.7 divided by that, 3.502 is giving us, okay, so just getting a little bit of that bump, 26 miles per gallon here for the plug-in hybrid version of the Lexus TX. Now, like I said, it's possible that number is slightly optimistic because of that extra slow speed section we had with the traffic, but since you could go 0.6 miles per gallon down from that and still round up to 26, we're going to give it that 26 MPG figure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, is that a bad number? No. Do you have to consider that you're putting premium fuel in here? Yes. Do you also have to consider that the normal, just regular hybrid version of this, which, mind you, doesn't make as much power, can't drive it on electricity alone, generally, but that one got 1 mile per gallon better, and you don't ever have to plug it in? Something to consider. Also, we need to check and see what the BMW X5 got. Alright, so the X5 with its plug-in hybrid and twin-turbo inline-6 B58 engine got 28 miles per gallon. So 2 better here than the TX. Now, you know what? I just remembered we got the roof rails on there, so maybe that'll kind of counteract with the slower speed that we dealt with there at the traffic. But yeah, 2 miles per gallon lower than the BMW X5, which is a little bit of a smaller car, I think. You don't get the third row in there, so it's all kind of in similar neck of the woods, but that is a much more exciting powertrain in that BMW. That is for sure. Now, the other downside here to the TX is you only have a 14.5 gallon fuel tank. So take that 26 miles per gallon times 14.5. You're only looking at 370 miles of highway cruising range here in the X5, or the TX. So a little low, especially if you fill this up with people and gear, use that tow rating or anything like that. It's definitely going to be pretty small if you're road tripping it. But again, you have that benefit of if you have a place to charge every night, charging all the way up to full and getting, even on the highway, about 28 miles or so of EV only driving. Not revolutionary, but for some people, that's going to fit their lives very, very nicely, especially if you have cheap electricity at home, maybe solar, something like that. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on this TX 550H plug-in hybrid, check the link below for our full review on our Mark Levinson audio coverage. Shout out to LastFit for the floor mats in here, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.